How's it going, Exile? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to craft gloves like this. I have actually just finished crafting, a bunch of these. So this one is the best one I could make, which, I actually priced at like 100 divines. I have no clue if it will sell for this, but, I actually spent like less than 4 divines crafting this. Yes, it was a little bit lucky. Yes, this craft is not 100% deterministic, but it's still a pretty good craft. So here's some other ones I did. I did this one here, which is also pretty nice. This one here, which just has one dead suffix, and this one here, which I ended up choosing for myself because I really don't want to wear this one. This seems way too expensive to wear it myself. If I can get to sell this for this price, I can upgrade my entire gear. And you know what? I still need some resistances, so I ended up doing this. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to craft this glove. We're going to go through the process from the beginning to the end, and I'm going to start with 36 bases basically for like 15x each, and I'm going to show you how I ended up with these 4 results. So let's get going. Right, for the gloves craft, I bought a couple of bases. This is like 36 bases, and these are 46 and 50 energy shield bases. These are not the best bases, but they're pretty good. The best base is like 56 or something like that. So the difference is really not that much, but the difference in price is actually huge. So these bases cost like 10 to 15 exalts. I bought them like over the course of, probably 2 hours and sniped a few of these. Of course, if you don't want to do this with a lot of bases, you can also use like a single base and then just go for, perfect transmutation, perfect augmentation, and then you can just keep annulling it, right? The price of an annul is right now 17 exalts, so it's roughly the price of a base of this magnitude to just do the annulment round if you want. And if you have a more expensive base, obviously you would go with annulments. But, since I want to do multiple bases because this craft is partially RNG, I want to, have a couple of attempts. That's why I'm basically just decided to, buy a stash tab full of bases and just gonna, craft them up. So the first step is basically we just take all of our bases and we just craft them up with perfect orbs of transmutation. Right, so now that we did this, we pick everything which has either a good suffix for us or a good prefix for us. So 838 fire resist is a good suffix for us. Then, mana per enemy killed, we don't really need it. Maximum mana is a good prefix for us. And we just go on and we just search for the ones which make sense for our build. This is actually pretty expensive, but not good for our build. And so we take the ones with maximum mana, the ones with energy shield. Energy shield hybrid you could use potentially, but I'm just going to skip it for now. Resistances, Chaos Rest we don't want. Here's one with Rarity. Then we have Hybrid again, another Rarity one. Mana, Lightning Rest. Intelligence is actually also a good suffix, so we could potentially also use that one. Another one with Rest here. Just move them to another tab. Right, so here's the one with Res. And another one with Res. So let's just, this is like, a good amount actually has like at least one prefix or suffix which we want. I'm just going to take the one with intelligence just for reference here as well. Because, we're just going to randomly slam one suffix. So the more good suffixes basically we can have, the better. So this is step 1. So now we got a decent amount of bases. And now we're going to perfect augment them to try to get a second good affix on them. Right, so here's our bases which have at least one mod which is good for us. So let's go ahead now and do the perfect augmentation. And now basically we hope for, getting maybe 2 or 3 good bases which have 2 good affixes in the first place. Right, so let's look at the bases. So this one is trash. This one is perfect, mana and rarity. Here we have hybrid, and we could still use this. It's not perfect. Here we have energy shield and rest, which is good. Here we have energy shield, mana and rarity, which is good. Again, hybrid. Again, a good one with mana. Wow, this is actually pretty lucky. So we actually got, this is the best one is if you can get, flat obviously in the prefix, but yeah, this is another hybrid. And another one. So basically, this was actually pretty lucky. We got decent stuff. So right now we have then the 9 bases we're going to continue crafting with. So now we're going to do one of 2 things. So now next thing, basically all the bases which have mana, we're gonna use the greater essence of enhancement to give it more energy shield. Then the other ones which have energy shield, we're going to use the greater essence of the mind to give it mana. That being said, you can also use the greater essence of opulence if your item does not have magic find yet. So this will give you 15 to 18% item rarity in the suffix slot. So if you don't have it yet, you can use this. These are 40 exalts. So you have to know if you want to do this or not, because this is going to make your craft less deterministic. Because first of all, we're going to slam our essence later, which gives us the socketed item boost in the suffix. So there's a 33% chance that you're actually going to remove this. And also, it's going to make our prefixes more random, because these gloves, since we are doing them for caster, gloves have like all these, flat damage things in the prefix. So the more prefixes we basically randomly exalt, the higher the chances are we're going to get bad prefixes. So you can do this if you want. I do not recommend it. But, if you really go for item rarity and you don't have item rarity base or whatever, you can do this. But I recommend using the essences which go in the prefix slot, because the essence of enhancement as well as the essence of the minds both go in the prefix slot. So that basically means we're going to end up with items which have just one open prefix and two open suffixes, and then we just have to randomly get one more prefix in, and we have a lower chance of getting bad prefixes this way. All right, so let's go ahead and, sort our ones which have mana in the prefix here. So we're just going to take all which have the mana in the prefix. And these have the energy shield in the prefix. So we're just going to put all the mana ones here, and we're just going to use the perfect essence of enhancement on the mana ones. So as you can see, these are all now like just energy shield gloves with the energy shield, mana, and, the stuff that we had before. And these ones are the ones which already had energy shield. So for this ones, we basically just gonna put the mana on. So now these gloves are all pretty much, energy shield percent and mana, and, some resistance or whatever in the suffix, except for this one here, which has the potential to get really good, which has flat energy shield in the prefix. But, so this is the first step now. We have now pretty decent bases. Again, these ones here we could do later on if we don't get anything good, but these are now decent bases. Okay, next thing is we got a greater exalt these up. You can obviously use perfect exalts, but I do not recommend it. So since the, whatever greater exaltation omens and other stuff, are pretty much more expensive than greater exalt, we're pretty much just going to manually greater exalt these up. So there's two outcomes we want. First of all, if we greater exalt into the prefix slot, that's good, because then we just need a second greater exalt, because we want to desecrate in our suffix slot. And if there's just, one slot open, we can basically save ourselves one greater exalt. So we're just going to start with greater exalting every of these once. And now we're going to look at the ones which have full prefixes. This has a full prefix. This does not. This has full prefixes. This does not. This does not. This does not. This does not. This has also full prefixes. And this one has full prefixes. So before even looking at them, so these one have full prefixes. So these just need one more greater exalt, basically. These ones here, we're just going to go on. But let's first look at them. So this one here is pretty good already. So this is, can't ask for more. It has very good prefixes, has item rarity. So here we have another one. This just got life, so this is pretty bad. This one here got physical damage, is bad. This one here got life as well. It's also not very good. We can still use them, but these are not very good. This is very good, so let's go on with this one. Here we have another one. So this has double res in the suffix. This is also good. This one has mana per enemy killed, which is not so good. But in the suffixes, it's not so important actually, because we're going to remove one suffix randomly. So this one has crit bonus. It's also decent, actually. Not exactly for the build I'm playing, but it's good. This one has another crit bonus, and this one here is basically a brick. So what we're going to do now is this one here, first of all, we're just going to greater exalt it once more so we can desecrate it later. So let's just give this the last mob. Okay, this is a brick mod, unfortunately. But still, we're going to desecrate it. And later there's going to be a 50% chance that this mod is going to be removed. So then let's see if we have any other good ones we want to go on with. So let's just go with the crit ones for now. So we have like one crit one, a second crit one, and we had the one with double res. So I'm just going to go on with these for now. So these ones here, we still got to exalt once more, and we're still going to hope it's going to land in the prefix in this case. So Let's just exalt all these up once more. So now, same story. If the prefixes are full, we just have to continue desecrating. Prefixes are full. Here the suffixes are full. So this one, basically, we have to exalt once more. And this one, also the suffixes are full. But let's first look at them, right? So the suffixes are full. One suffix will get randomly removed. So we basically just put like another prefix on these two here, since these are like both good. This one doesn't change. This one here is not very good. It has, you know, a bad prefix. But still, in the end, you know what? These are all decent. So these ones we basically just will desecrate. And this ones here, we will just fill the other prefix and then desecrate them later. So let's just fill the prefixes of this ones here. They both, unfortunately, did not end up very good. But, you know, these are still going to be decent. They don't have very good energy shield, but it's still going to be decent rolls, actually. So we still have two of these ones here, right? These both all have life in the prefix, so we don't want them for our craft. Not saying that these are bad, but we don't want them for this particular craft. But this one here can still be good because they have just two prefixes. Yeah, they have one bad suffix, but you know, we can still basically get good results out of these if we exalt them up in the prefixes. So let's just exalt these two up as well. As you can see, this one got life, this one got accuracy rating. So we're just going to put these apart for now. We're not going to use these. So these are the final four we're going to use for our craft. So next thing we're going to do is basically we're going to desecrate them. These two we can desecrate directly. These one we have to use the omen. Alright, so let's go out desecrating the item. So one thing to note here, like this item here has a bad suffix and it has an open suffix. So if we would just desecrate it into the open suffix now, then it would stay with the 34 life per enemy killed. So after that, then we would have basically, you know, a 50% chance of removing Rarity or the 34 life per enemy killed. So this is not the optimal situation. So we can at least increase our chances a little bit by exalting this up one more time. Because if we exalt this up one more time, we can randomly desecrate into the suffix slot, and then we actually have a 33% chance of removing the bad mod. If we end up putting on a second bad mod, you know, we still have a 66% chance of removing one bad mod. But if we would just, you know, keep the bad mod, we would have the worst odds. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to greater exalt this up once again, and I hope I get a good mod in this suffix. I mean, intelligence is not a bad mod, right? So now we have basically a 33% chance of, you know, removing the bad one. We have, you know, a 33% chance of removing the intelligence, which is not that bad. And obviously we could remove the rarity. So this one here has already two good suffixes, right? It has crit bonus and fire resistance. So we're just gonna desecrate this up in the slot without doing anything. These two here, this has two good suffixes, and this has also two good suffixes. So basically for these it's like pretty much the same thing. We're basically just gonna now use the Omen of Dexter Necromancy, so our desecration will only go into the suffix modifiers. And this part is RNG. You know what? We can hit good, we can hit bad. You know, whenever we hit like something good, like it's best for us. But you know, we might also like hit something whatever, right? So it's just, you know, this is just the RNG part. You know, we just basically desecrate these into the suffixes and just, you know, hope we don't remove anything good here. So here removed something good, here removed something bad, right? Here we removed the attacks which we didn't want. And this last one here, we also removed the one which was pretty bad. So this is actually... Alright, next step is we're just gonna unveil our desecrated mods. So you can use Omen of Abyssal Echoes here, obviously, if you want. Again, I want to try to keep this craft relatively cheap because, you know, we are really not investing a whole lot. We can also sell these bases back at any time if we want. So I'm kind of, you know, keeping it cheap right now. The Omen of Abyssal Echoes are like, you know, more than half of the divine right now, so I'm just really not doing it. I'm just going to go for chances here because these are already pretty good without the suffix. And also later on, if we want to slam the, you know, the socketed items essence, we might end up removing this mod regardless. So I'm just going to unveil them without Omen of Abyssal Echoes. Again, you can go ahead and use Abyssal Echoes if you want. So this one is already like a pretty bad brick, unfortunately. So let's choose Strength and Dexterity. That's really unfortunate because that was the best one I had. But, you know, the other ones are still okay since we are just trying to make something relatively cheap here. I'm not too worried about that, actually. So here we have critical damage bonus. I mean, I think critical damage bonus is probably the best one we can get here. The other ones are not bad, but critical damage bonus seems to be worth the most on the market, I guess. So here we have another one with critical damage bonus or lightning and chaos. I mean, this is a pretty bad one. And I'm just going to go with the lightning and chaos here. And here we have, unfortunately, we didn't really hit any good mods here, but, you know, this one has actually, you know, intelligence is pretty nice, magnitude for ailments is pretty nice, and increased energy shield recharge rate is also pretty nice. But, you know, in this build, since we are like playing a shock build, I'm just going to go with the magnitude of ailments for now. Alright, so now we desecrated all our items. Now the last step would be to slam in our essence. So here now comes the most expensive part actually. We want to use our Essence of Horror, and this one is going to remove a random suffix modifier. So since these, like, this is the only one which really has a bad suffix, the other one have all like okay suffixes. So we're not going to brick any of these, but you know, we can get a good outcome now or not. This craft is partially RNG, but these are all pretty solid items, which worth probably multiple divines at this point. We're going to check it after the craft. But, you know, first of all, I'm just going to slam the Essence of Horrors on all of these. And let's see what we got. So this one here we got really lucky. This is probably worth like 50 divines or something like that. So we really have like, you know, 160 energy shield gloves with 160 mana, rarity, intelligence, and socketed items. So really, really good. Here we have another one. So this one has, you know, mana, energy shield, fire res, crit bonus, and socketed items. Here's the fourth one. We have, you know, mana, energy shield, crit bonus, fire res, socketed items, and this is the last one. This end up being like shit. The other ones are pretty good. This one is still decent. We can sell it, but these are all pretty solid gloves which are fitting my build. Let's just look at this one here, particular, how much it's gonna be worth. So I doubt that we're even gonna find one of these, but we can check it for reference. So if we look for something like this is probably not going to exist on the market whatsoever. So let's just try to remove the intelligence. Maybe we can't even find it now. Let's just remove the rarity. So even without the rarity, we're looking at a 40 divine here. Probably the energy shield roll is a little high. So let's, you know, just, you know, adjust this to like, let's say this just had 100 energy shield. Still doesn't exist on the market. Let's try to take the int off. So here's one for 35 divine. So as you can see, this item probably has like a market value of, you know, maybe like, you know, 50 to 100 divines. But, you know, it's probably not going to sell for this like this early of the league. But, you know, let's check one of these other ones here, for example, right? This is a pretty simple one. Let's just look for the energy shield, the mana, the res, the crit bonus, and the soul core. Didn't find it. Let's remove the crit bonus. You know, there's one for 30 divines. The third one here, we have mana, fire res, same story pretty much, right? We just found this for like 30 divines. We can't even find it because this has too high mana. So as you can see, like, you know, these are pretty much worth a lot. This one here is the bricked one here, which just has the life per enemy killed, right? So let's just look at this one here with just the mana, the lightning res, and the effect of socketed items and the 2 sockets. We're looking at 40 divines here. So, you know, these crafts were pretty simple, and I didn't even start crafting up the other ones, right? So I just really did the 4, which, you know, are pretty decent outcomes, I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, we could just still, like, these ones here are still decent to craft up, right? So these are not bricked by any means. These just have, like, you know, a bad suffix, for example, or a bad prefix. But, you know, I could still craft these up, and they would end up, you know, in the same range as these are. But anyway, so this is kind of the craft, how you know, build an item like this. And I hope you find this video useful, and, you know, thank you so much for watching, and I see you guys next time.